Okay? Hand it over to the person next to you. It's unlocked. Make sure it's not your boyfriend or girlfriend. So how does it feel? Weird, exactly. I heard weird. That's exactly how the first drivers in Uber felt, the first host in Airbnb felt. That's exactly what the sharing economy... Yes, you can return the phone. Once I forgot to mention that for 40 minutes people were a little bit tense. Okay, that's exactly what the collaborative and sharing economy is all about at the very beginning. But today, if I can have the next slide, please. But today, the sharing economy is touching every aspect of our lives. Everybody knows Uber and Airbnb, but some of you using this company on a daily basis, okay? And we use them to buy food, to send money, to work together. And this is what the collaborative sharing economy is all about. Now, if we specifically talk about, next slide please. If we specifically talk about the collaborative economy on the workspace, okay? We have two spaces. We have the living spaces, which is the Airbnb, the home away of the world, and we have the workspaces. So there are a couple of companies around the world that do what we do. We have absolutely the first moving advantage in Southeast Asia. And Flyspaces helps and empowers spaces like Square One to increase their capacity to find clients and increasing the collaborative economy in the working space. Next slide, please. So the problems that Square One and we are solving are the problems that SMEs have, right? SMEs have, some of them have extra office space, no way to monetize it, and some other SMEs, they're looking for short-term office space solutions because it's very simple, it's just cheaper. We're gonna show you some graph on how much is cheaper actually getting a short-term office space versus a conventional office space. But SMEs today, they really want more flexibility. And this explains the flourishing environment of co-working spaces and short-term office spaces around the world. Philippines, by being one of the fastest growing economies in the world, is experiencing a tremendous growth in this specific segment. Next slide, please. And this is what we do, right? So we empower SMEs to find short-term office space across all the countries where we operate. And on our platform, you can find beautiful co-working spaces like Square One, service offices, traditional businesses that simply have extra office space. All this to say that there is no need today to take a conventional rent of 3 years, 3 months deposit, 3 months advance, when you don't know how big your team is going to be in 6 months from now, how small your team is going to be in 6 months from now. So we highly encourage SMEs to look at short-term office space solution as the way to go to optimize the biggest single cost that they have, which is real estate. So how important it is? Well, 95% of the companies around the world in every given economy are actually SMEs. If you think about it. Yeah, there's always the Microsoft of the world, the Google of the world, the General Motors of the world, but hundreds of companies out there are actually SMEs. The majority of the company in Southeast Asia, they are between 10 to 20 people. Now let's forget about the micro enterprises. These are not relevant obviously for this conversation. But in Metro Manila alone, there are 12,000 SMEs registered the SECs in Metro Manila alone, right? So it's a tremendous growth opportunity for spaces like Square One. And most importantly, the SMEs, they employ 70% of the employable workforce. You need to put these people somewhere. That's where is the tremendous opportunity today. Next. So we ran a little exercise to see across Asia how cheaper it is to take a short-term office space solution instead of a conventional office space. This was in Singapore, but then we did exactly the same from Manila. So in Singapore, taking a short-term office space solution versus a conventional office space, SMEs will save approximately 18%, right? But look at this. In Manila, in the very same situation, they will save up to 24% on a yearly basis. In Jakarta, that goes up even up to 26%. So there is no question on why companies should take a short-term office space solution. Next, please. So these are the cities where we operate. We are proudly a Filipino company. Most of our team is based in Manila. We have two main offices, Manila and Singapore, and then we have satellite offices across Southeast Asia. Our job is to create the biggest co-working spaces in the world by acquiring, all the best co-working spaces in the city where we operate. So like this, we can acquire a customer in Hong Kong and send it to one of our spaces in Manila. We can acquire a customer in Manila that needs a commercial office in Hong Kong, and so on. So that's what we do. Next, please. These are some of our partners across Southeast Asia. We were in Sunset just like a little more than a year ago, and in a very short time we became the biggest operator in Southeast Asia in whatever we do. Next, yes. So let's talk about co-working spaces trends. Next. So there are three main trends that tell us that this is a fantastic space to be in. The first is that corporate workspace strategy is changing. More and more corporations, they're shrinking the take-up of office space. Now, call center is a different story because they hire people, they hire them to a price, and then they sell their services to higher prices in more mature markets. So call center it's a little bit different story. But companies that are actually operating commercially in the Philippines, in Thailand, in Korea, in Hong Kong, they're actually shrinking the take-up of office space. They are allowing their employees to be more mobile. They're allowing their employees to work anywhere as long as they deliver, because through technology today they can work basically anywhere as long as they have internet connection. That's the first trend. The second trend is that if you think about it, let's think about the Fort specifically. The minimum cut of an office space is 2,000 square meters. 2,000, right? That makes for an SMEs taking an office space impossible. It's simply impossible for an SMEs to afford an office space in the Fort, which is the CBD area, the new CBD area which is coming up, right? And that's why when the Square One group and I we met, and we really want to create the first ever co-working spaces at the Fort, I was astonished by seeing like a big group like a BGC, which has conventional office space, venturing into this space. And that means they're pioneering. And I'm going to show you some other examples around the world in a bit. The third trend is that co-working spaces as a trend, it's growing faster than any other trend in the real estate business. What does it mean? That today, in emerging markets like the Philippines, you have about 3% of the total office space inventory allocated to short term. But it's growing at 10% a year. So the actual office space, conventional office space, is being converted into short-term office space. I strongly recommend, we release actually today, in light of this event, our first co-working spaces trend in Southeast Asia, is that article that you can find my team with the Flyspaces t-shirt. Please pick up a copy. We release it today. He has a lot of data. It doesn't have a lot of stories about co-working spaces because everybody knows what it is, right? We're actually giving you a lot of data on what is happening specifically in Southeast Asia. So co-working spaces trend is the fastest growing trend in the real estate. If you think about Makati has approximately 15 to 20 co-working spaces already established, okay? But Square One is absolutely the number one, arriving at the Fort. And the Fort right now is the highest demand in the country for office space. Next. Who heard about WeWork? Okay, it's just a small company. It's the third most valuable startup in the world. Okay, so it's Uber, Didi Quality, and then WeWork. WeWork, they raised $1 billion cash and $19 billion valuation. What do? They build co-working space. So they go in a major financial hub. They started with floors like this one. Now they take up whole buildings. Right? They cut into pieces, and then they resell the rooms like they're doing here in Square One. On top of that, they add all the soft layers of community, extra vendors, partnership with the space. So the SMEs actually, which are tenant in the space, they can find extra value. WeWork opened its first space in Hong Kong 2 weeks ago. Just to give you an idea, they're also the big companies with a lot of funding. They're looking at Asia, okay, to opening the co-working spaces, which is a trend is relatively new. Okay? Because in the Asia way of doing business, people they still want a traditional space where employees are focused on whatever they're doing, just the way it works in Asia, right? But when trends hit Asia, they expand much faster than anywhere else in the world. Because the population is much younger and they are much tech savvier than other emerging regions. You will find those information in the article. But to give you an idea, again, big real estate players, they are all looking at co-working spaces right now. Next. And this is a case, which is our, next please. Oops. This is a case which is neighboring. It's Singapore. So CapitaLand, which is the biggest real estate developer in Southeast Asia, they actually opened their own co-working spaces in their headquarter tower, Capital Tower, which is the most expensive tower in Singapore. So CapitaLand, which is a predominant player, they decided to venture with an existing co-working space operator to build its very first co-working spaces. And that's something that pioneered in Southeast Asia. Nobody did it before, and today this one is another example. Right? So Square One is the only first example where big conglomerates venture into co-working spaces on its own, following the CapitaLand example. Next. So why does it make sense? Right? So Manila, there was just a report 2 weeks ago from Savills. Manila has probably the lowest vacancy rate of office space in the world right now. The lowest vacancy rate in the world. 4%. 4% is basically zero. Okay, so every office has a huge take-up. Okay, this is due to the economic growth that the country is experiencing, which again makes it, for SMEs, very complicated to find office space. Next, please. So why is this a game changer? Okay, because it's the first in BGC. There is no other co-working spaces. Okay, you have other operators like Radyo that have been operating for some time around here, but Square One and BGC, they really are the number one in this space. Next, please. So just I received this today, just this morning, and I can totally see the even you walk in and there are the feet like walk. I don't know how the stickers and things. That's fun. Right? I'm not walking in a boring office, I can already feel that. Right? Next. I always say this to big conglomerates, right? So you either disrupt yourself or you will be disrupted. And this is fantastic to see how the BDC team, they actually disrupted themselves in order not to be disrupted. If you think about it, their business was to sell conventional office space. They don't want short-term office space, but now they do, right? So, a huge salute to the BDC team for venturing, disrupting themselves, other to be disrupted. Next. And finally, when I say to developers, okay, I always say I have good news and bad news for you. The good news is that the world will always need developers to build amazing buildings. We'll always need the fantastic developments you guys are building in Manila, in Cebu, in Singapore, etc. But the bad news is the disruption will happen in the way your space is going to be monetized. So instead of having conventional client or taking up a space for 3 months, for 3 years, depositing 3 months, and so on, you have SMEs looking for 3 months contract, 3 months contract, because the world today is moving way faster than it was moving before. So the good news is that you will still be around for quite some time. The bad news is that you will need to reinvent yourself in the way your space is being monetized. And today is the living proof that companies like BDC are doing this. Okay? Thank you. Thank you very much.